Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Red Rainer, your host of the Curb Stomp on the Heavyweight Mark channel. If this is your first time tuning in, please be sure to subscribe and press the little notification bell next to the subscribe button so you get all my future podcasts. Before we start, I'd like to give a shout out to my main man and the co-host of Fallout, the WWE pay-per-view review show, Pete the Big Show Wall. Now, Pete's also my co-host on his channel, Pillar to Post, where we do a live show called Shooting from the Hip, which goes on live Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, head-to-head with Impact Wrestling. The end goal is to have more of you watching us than actually watching Impact. You know we're more interesting than a Vince Russo pay-per-view. That I can promise you. I'll have the links so you can find them in the description below to Pete's channel. Now, like I said, 8 p.m. Thursday nights. As you guys know, YouTube has recently been trying to put a stop to wrestling for one reason or another. Now, they've been making it so it's harder to find us through their search. And we're not getting nearly as many ads as we were previously, which really cuts me deep here because I'm just getting started out. I don't have 50 million subscribers or 50,000 subscribers, and I'm trying to get there, but they're not making it easy for us. I don't understand how professional wrestling is more dangerous than teaching people about ammunition and guns. But for some reason, that isn't in YouTube's restricted section. But professional wrestling is. So, I'd like to ask you guys to tell YouTube.com wrestling isn't evil. Alright, so let's get started. It's been a very busy week for me. We had Monday Night Raw, SmackDown Live, NXT, the UK special, NXT TakeOver, Chicago, and WWE Backlash. And we're going to get started with all that right now. For 2 weeks now, the WWE creative team has built on the WWE Intercontinental Championship match between Dean Ambrose and the number one contender, The Miz. They've been trying to rebuild the legitimacy of the IC title because, to be honest, it's been nothing for like 8 months now. Show started off, Raw General Manager Kurt Angle comes out, huge ovation, they're in Newark, New Jersey. Angle addresses the injury to Braun Strowman that will put him out of action for up to 6 months. Then he proceeded to announce the Extreme Rules Fatal 5-Way match at the June pay-per-view. Now, it's going to be between Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe, Finn Balor, Bray Wyatt, and Roman Reigns. And this Fatal 5-Way is going to be for the number one contender for Brock Lesnar's Universal Championship. As Angle prepares to leave, Roman Reigns' music opens up, and out he comes, and he takes credit for retiring The Undertaker and putting Braun Strowman out before claiming he's the only superstar capable on the Raw brand of beating Brock Lesnar. And then we hear Finn Balor's music hit, and he joins in the conversation, reminding Reigns that he was the first WWE Universal Champion, and he didn't lose his title due to losing a match. He had to give his title up due to an injury. Then he goes on to remind Reigns that he lost a match to him his very first night on Raw. Then we got Samoa Joe. He comes out. He lists off his, accomplishments over the years. And then Wyatt comes out. He's in the middle of the ring, lights just go out. Claims superstars would cower before him. Then Seth Rollins comes out, cuts him off. And then there's a brawl between Rollins and Joe ringside. Then Joe quickly retreats. Wyatt clears Rollins. Balor laid Reigns out with a sling blade before throwing him over the top rope. Now, at the end of this, the only person left standing in the ring is Finn Balor. Then we just cut to a commercial. And then after the commercial, Angle comes back out, he doesn't come back out. He appears in the backstage area And he books Rollins versus Wyatt and Reigns versus Balor. Just to throw some good matches onto the show. Up next, we have Jeff Hardy versus Sheamus. And I gotta tell you folks, this really didn't do much for me. I'm getting tired of watching Sheamus fight the Hardys, number one. And number two, I really want to see the Revival on TV. And I know that we can't have them right now because Dash Wilder's injured. But I want to see them back as soon as possible. Most of the match, Sheamus was in control. Then, near the end of the match, Sheamus attempted the brogue kick. And Hardy ducked out of the way, sent him crashing into Matt. It was a brief distraction which allowed Jeff to deliver a twist of fate and a senton bomb for the win. Now, I give this match 2.5 stars out of 5. I don't really know what else to say about it. It really wasn't great. It failed to live up to my expectations. Timing was off. It was horribly, I guess I'm going to say clinky or clunky. It's not what I was expecting after the awesome heel turn at Payback. Next match on the card that we see is Sasha Banks versus Alicia Fox. And this blew my mind a little bit. You never see Alicia Fox win. I don't think I've seen Alicia Fox win in the last 2 years. But, as Meltzer said, and I've heard other people say this before, and I've always noticed, she has the absolute best Northern Light suplex in the world right now. Even though it was kind of a weak ending, it really blew my mind, and it got me wanting to be a mark for Alicia Fox again. And I'm sure you guys know Alicia Fox. And me have not really been that big. I've never really been that big on her. I've mentioned it in other shows. I've always thought that the whole, gimmick that she has going on right now is kind of racist towards all people. But, all in all, great match. Just for the fact that Alicia Fox won. Like I said, the ending was kind of crappy though. Just a scissors kick and a pinfall. I give this match 1.5 stars overall for, the match itself. It's more the story it told that made it awesome. For the story, I'd have to give it like a 4-star. It would seem that WWE is afraid you're going to tune out after the first hour. So what do? Near the end of the first hour, they go ahead and have the Intercontinental Championship match, which is Dean Ambrose versus The Miz. Now, this match ended in tomfoolery as well. I wish I could say something good about, these matches that have been going on lately. But, in all honesty, Vince McMahon has lost touch. He doesn't know what the audience wants. We watch because we're loyal. We don't watch because we like it anymore. Basically, the match ends. Maryse, not really sure how to say her name, it's French, goes ahead and distracts the ref, leaving the Miz trying to low blow Ambrose. Ambrose catches the low blow and then kicks the Miz for a low blow of his own, drawing in a disqualification. Result, the Miz defeats Dean Ambrose by disqualification. I'm going to give this match 3.5 stars. As, the ending was good. You don't see those kinds of endings anymore. You can say whatever you want about, it was a DQ, it was a effed up finish. No, it's good storytelling, folks. Next up, Alexa Bliss came out, and she has the championship, she's the champion. I cannot believe what she said about New Jersey. She is getting such good heel heat. She's called New Jersey the sweat gland of America. Then we have Bayley coming out and saying she wants her rematch at Extreme Rules. And then a fight broke out against Alexa Bliss, grabbing a kendo stick from underneath the ring, beating Bayley senselessly in the back, and then sending her, outside the ring. Stood tall during the end of the segment. And then we have Kurt Angle offers Bayley the dumbest match possible. Instead of just having an Extreme Rules match, or as we used to call it during the Attitude Era, folks, a hardcore match, she's offered a kendo stick on a pole match. Now, what is the deal with this? We have two women fighting over a pole. This is Vince Russo booking. I hate Vince Russo, as everyone knows. I bring him up in almost every video. He is the slime of the earth. He wrecked WCW. I do believe that after a certain point, WCW would have, recovered from the losses they were having and would eventually rise back up again and at least be able to compete with WWE, if not take the leading run. Then we'd still have good wrestling all the time, because then Vince McMahon would have some competition in which he would have to compete with in order to stay afloat. These days, Vince just does whatever the hell he wants, regardless of what the fans want, because he gets his money regardless of what the ratings are. I'm sitting here waiting for them to reveal that Vince Russo actually works for them still, and always has, and was a mole in WCW. Next up, we had a very, very uninspiring match with Austin Aries and Jack Gallagher versus Neville and TJP. And let me tell you folks, we're going to get onto this later, but TJP, apparently the people of England don't like him very much. And I realized this show was actually in Newark, New Jersey, but later in the week they were in England, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. Now, I'm not going to get too much into this match because WWE does not know how to do cruiserweights. They should just stop right now. I don't know what happened. The cruiserweight tournament was great last year, and now it's just crap. It's like they've turned them into, I don't really know what to say. But anyway, we'll get to the end. Detonation kick from TJP for the pinfall. Neville and TJ defeat A-Double and Jack Gallagher. And the biggest thing is they don't have enough cruiserweights, and they're putting them in their own, little niche. Instead of letting them go rampant on the entire roster, they're making the same mistake that WCW made with Chris Jericho. And it's just not cool, man. Overall, I give this a 3 out of 5. For the simple fact it feels like the millionth time in the last month I've seen them in the ring together. Next up, we have Finn Balor versus Roman Reigns. And since he's been back, we haven't seen him use the demon persona. And I don't know if they're done with that or what's going to happen with that, but I really liked him when he came out all painted up. And I know it's got to take a long time to paint his entire body like that, but it looks amazing. Anyway, long story short, Roman Reigns defeats Finn Balor via spear. And clean victory, I'd like to have seen Balor win, but it's Roman Reigns, so Roman Reigns always wins. Next up, we have a tag team match supposed to be the Golden Truth versus the Club. Now, before the match happened, Golden Truth came out to the ring, which consists of R-Truth and Goldust. And Goldust beat the living hell out of R-Truth, and there was no match. But this has been a long time coming. Even the people in the crowd were screaming, "Thank you, Goldust." It's just something that needed to happen. They've buried Goldust for so long with R-Truth. And to be honest with you, I don't know what they're going to do with Goldust next, but I'm really excited for next week's Raw. Next, we have Big Cass versus Titus O'Neil. Turns out, Titus thought that it was Enzo Amore. versus Apollo Crews. And O'Neal had to wrestle in a suit with a tie. He was very frustrated the entire time. The segment was horrible. Obviously just filler so that people will go buy food during the match. And I've noticed this a lot with WWE events lately. The match before the main event is filler, so people will go buy food and other things before the end of the show to try to up those sales just a bit more. If I could have given this segment less than half a star, I'd probably give it a -1 star. Absolutely nothing good came of this. Yes, it was Enzo and Cass's hometown crowd. Da-da-da-da-da. I get it. Alright? I still wasn't impressed. Next up, we have the Architect, Seth Rollins, versus Bray, Eater of Worlds, Wyatt. Overall, the lack of heat surrounding the main event, there was no heat, basically. And to be honest with you guys, the most memorable part of the entire main event was the fact that whoever in the production truck played the wrong music, and then they blamed it on Bray Wyatt playing with the production crew, or whatever the hell they blamed it on. Just hilarious. You know, Seth Rollins' music hits, Samoa Joe's supposed to be coming out, so they have to stop Seth Rollins' music and start playing Joe's music. It's almost like whoever is in the gorilla position didn't know which music to tell them to play. But the match is pretty much immemorable. Nothing really happened. We're talking maybe, 2 stars at the most. I really preferred the Gold Dust segment over the main event. But that's just me. I like to be entertained. I like watching wrestling too, don't get me wrong, but I like to be entertained. That's all for Monday Night Raw. Now, before we get started with Tuesday Night SmackDown Live, I'd also like to thank my sponsor, Audible.com, where you can get a free 30-day trial of all of Audible's content, which includes more than 200,000 audio programs from leading audiobook publishers, broadcasters, entertainers, magazine and newspaper publishers, not to mention business information providers. Now, this content includes books of all genres, as well as radio shows, both classic and current, speeches, interviews, stand-up comedy, and audio versions of periodicals such as the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal. I have to tell you though, folks, there really is no gotcha to this. It's a 30-day free trial, during which time you can find and download almost any audiobook of your choice for free. Even if you cancel your trial within 30 days, you get to keep the audiobook for free. Audible audio files are also compatible with hundreds of audio devices, including PDAs, mobile phones, tablets, streaming media devices, and that includes Android and iOS. So you were talking about Android phones, tablets, and iPads and iPhones. I recently checked out AJ Lee's new book, which is titled Crazy is My Superpower. Now, this is about growing up. AJ was a very quiet girl, trying to act as normal as she could when she felt anything but normal. Her family struggled with drug addiction, poverty, and mental illness, and she fought through all of this using comic books and video games. She goes on to say that it wasn't until she discovered WWE that she learned that superheroes could be real. With great humor and tremendous heart, AJ opened up in this book, I believe it's for the first time too, about how she gained control of her life and finally beat her demons, folks. What most people would view as a hardship, AJ goes on to say it is an inspiration for her superhero persona, showing her journey from a scrappy girl from an unstable home to an empowered WWE Divas champion. It's honest and very brave of her to put this all out there. It's her long story to the road of self-acceptance. So, going forward with SmackDown Live, I really think the Breezango was the highlight of the evening. I didn't like the fact that Kevin Owens went ahead and stole Chris Jericho's highlight reel, but at the same time, it is good that feud is going to continue down the line when Jericho gets back. I give it like, the overall night, 3.5 stars possibly. It's definitely better than Raw, but you got to think about this. It was a send-home show for WWE Backlash. So moving forwards, we have AJ Styles versus Jinder Mahal. And Mahal beats AJ Styles via pinfall. So this really makes me think that Jinder is going to win that championship this weekend, folks. I give the overall match 3 3/4 stars. Next up, we have the Fashion Files. Again with the Fashion Police, Breezango. A couple of things they mentioned. Baron Corbin, 3 shirts, all wolves. And then Vince McMahon's mugshots up on the bulletin board, which, I guess they're saying he never changes. He's kept the same clothes his entire career. For me, this is a 5-star segment. And then we have the Colognes versus Breezango. Breezango wins via pinfall. But before the match starts, the Usos come out. And once that's all over, they do their little spiel. The match wasn't as good as their promo, so I give that like a 3-star. In all honesty, I wasn't expecting it to be as good as it was, but it should have been better overall. Now, the next thing that happened is I'm not really sure why there would be a contract signing for a 6-woman tag team match. There's no title on the line. There was no purpose for this segment. It's just filler. Next up, we have Carmella versus Naomi. Carmella wins via pinfall. But I gotta tell you, once again, Carmella keeps looking like trash. She keeps coming off. This was, however, a better match than the women's tag match, in my honest opinion. Naomi has good energy and great charisma, but Carmella has none. So they have James Ellsworth, for some reason or another, pretend to be with her, even though the entire world knows she's with Big Cass in real life. This is Lana and Russo all over again. Next up, we have a backstage interview with Sami Zayn, where he announces he has a match with Baron Corbin at Backlash. Then we have a match between Randy Orton and Baron Corbin. At the beginning of the match, though, Orton was out wrestling Corbin. Then Corbin took over, beating the living hell out of him. Fury, just pure fury coming from Corbin. But in the end, Randy Orton win via pinfall, which, it happens. Corbin goes, "How do you feel now, Randy?" He said this several times during the match. I give the match maybe 4 stars out of 5. So that was SmackDown. We're going to slow down just a minute. We're going to talk about who won between Raw and SmackDown for the week. And I think I already said at the beginning of SmackDown, it was the better show this week. But as far as segments go, the Gold Dust segment left me wanting for more. And I can't wait for Raw next week, like I've already said. I'm looking more forward to that than Doctor Who, and that's huge for me. Next up, we have NXT from Wednesday night. I don't know why they haven't given NXT another name besides just NXT, but I wish they would. I really do. Starting off NXT, we have Drew McIntyre versus Sean Malta. Maluta? I'm not really sure how to say his name. I heard it, but he has I've never seen him before, but he has a really outlandish costume. He has trunks, but he has phrase all over them like the Ultimate Warrior used to have on his wristbands. Just really great look. I give the match 4 stars out of 5. Not only was it hard hitting, with Malta busting open McIntyre's right eye, Intertwined was a story of a resilient and defiant young star resisting the opposition's onslaught of his eager, more physically imposing and potent Drew McIntyre until he simply could not muster any more fight. McIntyre honestly looked like he was a monster in this, which is how I feel they need to build Drew McIntyre at this point in his career. I really liked him in WCPW. I'm sad that he isn't WCPW champion anymore, but at least we have Martin Kirby. Next up, we had Sonya Deville versus Lacey Evans. One had like a pinup girl thing going on since she was from Paradise Island, South Carolina, which is where the Marine Corps boot camp is. And then Lacey Evans, total MMA. And I would have liked to have seen Lacey Evans just beat Sonya Deville's face in. But, not many people like this match. I'm going to go ahead and give this match 4.5 stars, though, because I loved it. I'm going to say, if I gave grades, I'd say A-. Next up, we have Cassius Ohno versus Amadre Cien Almas. Pretty much, this match, I don't know, it was a lot of back and forth. Neither one of them looked strong. I guess the biggest part of the match was the inverted tornado DVT given by Almas, but Cassius Ohno did come out on top. A lot of people did like this match from what I've been told, but I just seen it as like a 2.5 star match. So I'm giving it 2.5 stars. If you don't like it, sorry. I didn't like it. Next up, we have Bobby Roode coming out to the ring, cutting a promo. Tommy came out after Roode's promo and dropped everyone with go to sleeps. Literally everyone. And then he finally got Roode. I guess it was security officers that he was dropping before. But I'm pretty sure they were just jobbers. I don't think security officers take bumps. Just in my honest opinion. Now, we're going to go ahead and do the WWE UK special. But I'm not going to do storyline because storyline doesn't really matter here because it hasn't been built up. The last UK show was January, and since then they've showed a couple of the wrestlers on NXT, but not all that much. So we're just going to go over the matches quickly and what I thought of them. There were some really phenomenal matches on this card, to be honest. It's much better wrestling than we get on Raw or SmackDown. And it's because there isn't a storyline for Vince to mess up. So first up, we have Wolfgang versus Joseph Connors. After a fantastic opening video, Wolfgang made his way to the ring for the first match of the show against another man who made a great impression during the UK Championship tournament, Joseph Connors. WWE put together some nice packages for both men to reintroduce them to the WWE Universe. They were short, they were to the point. Then they each sized up for a slow pace at the beginning of the match. So many chants and screaming. But the European style of wrestling is different than that of the WWE. So it makes for amazing wrestling. As far as the entire match, I give it 4.5 stars. Next up, we have the Brian Kendrick teaming up with TJ Perkins to face Dan Maloney and Rich Swann. I was not at all excited to hear the Brian Kendrick or TJP's theme music. I thought they were unneeded. I wasn't even happy to hear Rich Swann. I expected a British style match with British wrestling. And this just didn't do it for me, folks. I was let down that they were even there. I gotta tell you, Brian Kendrick's never really been over with me. Possibly in 2002 or 2003 for a very short period of time, but not recently. And same way with TJP. As you guys know, if you watched, the crowd was chanting TJ is a wanker. And then at one point, Ross pretended not to know what they were talking about. And it was just funny for me. Next up, we have Trent Seven versus Pete Dunne. And I'm not really sure what was going on there. They said that it was for the number one contenders spot for the WWE United Kingdom Championship. But Pete Dunne was already announced to be facing Tyler Bate on NXT. So this, to me, makes no sense. It was a great match. Probably one of the best matches on the card. I give it 4 3/4 stars. And it's hard for me not to say it's the best match on the card. But next up, we have Mark Andrews versus Tyler Bate. And for once, folks, the main event steals the show. The only problem with the match is JR thought that Tyler Bates' name is Tyler Bates. So he kept adding an S on there. JR, I know you've been going through a lot, bud. I know that you're doing a lot of stuff right now. You have New Japan Pro Wrestling and WWE at the same time. The only person I think to ever do that, ever. Andrews shocked the living hell out of me. He did a reverse Hurricane Rana. So it literally looked like Tyler Bates' neck was going to snap. So entertaining. It made me feel like I was watching wrestling as a kid. As a whole, the match gets 5 stars. And I don't care what anyone says, it's one of the best matches I've watched in quite a long time. Like I said previously, we already knew Tyler Bate was going to win because they already told us on NXT that Tyler Bate would be facing Pete Dunne. And speaking of NXT TakeOver Chicago, let's get started with the news from NXT TakeOver Chicago. First match on the card is Roderick Strong versus Eric Young. And, you know, I haven't really been a big fan of Sanity. I think they're Blue Meanie ripoffs with their black eye lines around their eyes and everything. But looks like they've got rid of that. So that's good. I give the match a 2.5 star rating. In all honesty, though, the story was well laid out. Strong recognized from the beginning that the only way he was going to beat Young is if he neutralized Dane and Wolf. So, he was able to do that, and he defeated Eric Young. Wow. Just wow. Next up, we had the WWE United Kingdom Championship match between Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. And I gotta say, Tyler Bate defended his title in spurts. But when he did, it was always back-to-back, it would seem. As far as in the arena, though, everyone was cheering for Pete Dunne. I'm still a fan of Tyler Bate. I love the whole mustache mountain spiel. But in the end, the bitter end took Bate out. So, you know, 5-star match, guys. Tyler Bate's amazing. I think even as young as he is, he always makes his opponents look amazing. So, well done, Tyler Bate. You are the master, sir. Next up, we had Asuka versus Ruby Riott versus Nikki Cross for the NXT Women's Championship. I've seen a lot of things go down on Twitter recently between Goldberg and Asuka, because Asuka's beaten Goldberg's undefeated streak. So he's just going to have to suck it up, Buttercup, because he's not going to beat her record at this point in his career. We've heard the news before that WWE wants Ember Moon to take the belt off of Asuka, but with her being injured, I think that's why she hasn't been on the main roster yet. That being said, you know Asuka won this match. I give the match about a 3.5 all the way over. Not really a lot of good spots. Just solid, and moved forward and told a story. Next up, we have the NXT World Championship match between Bobby Roode and Hideo Itami. This was a really major league match between two men with glory. No pun intended to Bobby Roode. But it made Roode look like a legitimate badass for overcoming all the shoulder pain he was suffering at the hands of Hideo Itami. But he also made Itami look like a legitimized main event star. Mission accomplished here, WWE. I give this match 4 stars. Great match overall. Next up, we have the Authors of Pain versus DIY. Seriously, me. DIY. And everyone I know has been talking about the Authors of Pain are going to lose the championships back to DIY. But it would seem that that didn't happen, folks. They do the double power bomb, and then the Authors of Pain get the title. So, end of the match, DIY split up, folks. It's a sad day. Sad day. Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, all except for the one guy in the crowd who was laughing and pointing maniacally. I don't really know what these crowd reactions do for the entertainment value itself, or why they continue to do them, but I don't like them. Ciampa threw Gargano into the LEDs, folks. And that's the end of DIY. But don't be sad. They'll return one summer's day. Finally, we have the last segment of the night. And it's WWE Backlash 2017. The SmackDown exclusive pay-per-view. I don't usually watch the pre-shows, but I kind of caught it this time, and honestly, I don't really have much to say about it, other than I like your Starry Night tights, Aiden English. Well done, bud. Starting off Backlash, hooray, finally. Shinsuke Nakamura makes his debut, and I love this match. Not everybody did. My buddy Pete did not like this match whatsoever. He thought it was crap, and I was sitting over there like a fool, just loving it. Nakamura beat Ziggler by pinfall, but crowd chants for Nakamura were crazy. I think every time I see Shinsuke Nakamura go, come out to the ring, he is more and more cheers coming on. People sing his theme song constantly. Bit of disrespect by Ziggler. He spit in Nakamura's face. But other than that, really good storyline. The entire segment, I'm going to give it 3.5 stars. And going to move forward to the Usos versus Breezango for the SmackDown Championship. I was befuddled quite a bit. I thought they were just showing the exact same, segment from SmackDown. And it pretty much was, but it was just to reintroduce Tyler Breeze dressed up like the cleaner or the janitor, which I really think was a poke in the stab at Kenny Omega, in all honesty. Breeze mops the canvas while the fans were mopping, or were chanting mop. Mop, 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 mop. And then Breeze changed into an old lady disguise. And then, I don't know which one of the Usos. They're twins, alright? They have the same tattoos. It's hard to tell them apart. But they kept jumping up on the top rope, and then Breeze would roll back, and then he'd roll the other way. I've seen GIFs. I've seen all kinds of things. I've seen somebody made a YouTube video of it where it's rolling, 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 rolling. What? Rolling, rolling, rolling. Like the Undertaker's old theme song. But overall, I love this segment. I'm giving the entire segment 4 stars. And I know that's higher than Shinsuke Nakamura. I literally typed on Twitter, I can't wait to see what follows this, because I thought that was going to be the best segment of the night with Shinsei Nakamura. But as far as from an entertainment and comedical value, Tyler Breeze and Breezango with this Fashion Files are getting way, way, way over with me. So, best part of the entire night, JBL gets a dress thrown in his face and doesn't even see it coming. And then the show goes on and they do a replay of the dress going into JBL's face. It was hilarious. I liked it. However, I don't know how JBL still has a job. They chanted "Fire JBL" all night. From the beginning of the show to the end of the show, during the pre-show even, they were chanting "Fire JBL." And just fire him already, guys. He's gotten away with so much bullshit over the years. All he does is, he's the real reason I don't like SmackDown. Next up, we have Sami Zayn versus Baron Corbin. Zayn came over Corbin. I was not expecting this whatsoever. Once again, during the match, though, we did see Corbin screaming, "Why won't you stay down?" Which is what we've been seeing him say quite a lot often. So, I guess this is going to be his new spiel for a while. But you can tell that this rivalry is not over. Next up, we have the Welcome Committee versus Charlotte Flair, Becky Lynch, and Naomi. The heels went over, even though everybody thought the faces were going to go over. Not really that great of a match, to be honest with you. There was a little teasing of the tension between Flair and Naomi, though. I guess that's the only real thing that was going on there. And I'm not too sure about Charlotte Flair being a face either. She plays a better heel. It's not like she doesn't have merchandise. You know, Charlotte Flair sells quite a lot of merchandise from what I understand. Before the match starts, though, Ellsworth introduces Carmella, and he says, "I am the epitome of masculinity." And that just kind of made the match that followed stupid. So we had Kevin Owens versus AJ Styles in the United States Championship match. And this was a really good match. I give this match a 4-star rating. And I'm going to stop doing these stars except for on matches that are good, because I hate insulting people, guys. But it had a crap ending. And it was okay. You know, it made them both stay strong. Fans were screaming "stupid idiot" at Owens. But basically the way the match ended, they're both on the German announce table. And AJ Styles gets his foot caught in the table. Owens gets back in the ring. AJ's stuck, hanging off of the table. Can't get out. Biggest part of the match, though, for me, AJ picks up Kevin Owens. He's on the apron, and he almost puts him in the Styles Clash, but he reverses. At the same time, I don't see either one of those men making it if they do that particular move off the apron. Somebody's going to get hurt, so I'm glad they didn't go through with it. But then we have filler once again. Another WWE event. The match right before the main event. Who would have thought filler once again? That way they can go ahead and, sell some more concessions. But Eric Rowan versus Luke Harper. And we have Harper winning via pinfall. Pretty much a stupid match. Didn't really showcase either's talent. But it all happens the way it happens. I'm sad that they're not getting back together as a tag team. I don't see them being singles wrestlers with their current gimmicks. At the end of the match, though, we did see Eric Rowan talking to his mask. And that could be good. Al Snow used to talk to a head. I guess he talks to a mask. So, whatever, WWE. But, I gotta tell you, Main event. I love the main event. Randy Orton versus Jinder Mahal. It was so good to not have a boring champion anymore because Mahal beat Orton. And anybody who said they didn't see this a month ago, there's no way in hell you seen this a month ago if you say you did, unless you specifically work for WWE on the creative team, because nobody else saw it. And then we have, my God, hell is frozen over several times. But this is all, it was a good match. It looked like he was a mid-carder out of his comfort zone, but at the same time, he's delivering promos like a pro. And that's better than Randy Orton, who does basically the same thing no matter what he says. That's all for the Curb Stomp for this week. I hope you guys like, share, and subscribe to this video. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I'll be checking all the comments on this video at this point in time. So please, go ahead, leave a comment, let me know what you thought about this week in wrestling. And once again, don't forget to check out my podcast with Pete Wall on the Pillar to Post channel. It's on Thursday nights, 8 p.m., head-to-head with Impact Wrestling. I just want to thank Audible.com once again for sponsoring our show.
Thank you.